All right. Hi, everyone. I'm super thankful that you guys are able to come join us today for today's panel. My name is Nicole. I am the events director of the Honors Connection Club, and I'm really excited to host today's UC transfer panel. Some of you guys may already know that we had UCLA and UC Berkeley transfer panels previously, but we really wanted to provide insight into the entirety of the UC system. So we have 7 panelists joining us today from their respective UCs, all of whom attended Foothill prior to transferring. And if you weren't able to make it to the UCLA or UC Berkeley transfer panels, we do have panelists joining us today from both UCLA and from UC Berkeley. So the Honors Connection Club is hosting this in conjunction with the International Student Connection Club. At the very end of the panel, we'll have a QR code that you can scan to either join the HCC Discord or sign up for ISC. All right, so for today's agenda, we'll begin with introductions from our panelists and then move on to our structured Q&A and then our open Q&A. I'll go into some more detail about what these 2 sections of Q&A will consist of in a little bit, and then we'll finish up with some closing statements and resources. One thing to keep in mind is that we do have recordings of the UCLA and UC Berkeley transfer panel posted on the Honors Connection Club YouTube, which you can access through our Discord that will once again be provided at the very end of the panel. All right, so one thing to keep in mind is that panelists will be responding to initial questions prepared and presented by the host, and this is what the structured Q&A is going to be composed of. We'll be covering a wide range of topics, including what the social scene is like at these schools, to any application advice and just tackling the UC application. If you have a question you'd like answered, please wait until the open Q&A that will happen after initial questions are presented to the panelists, and then we'll have your questions directly answered by the panelists. All right, so as I mentioned, we have 7 panelists joining us today from their respective UCs. I first wanted to thank you guys for taking the time to join us today, and we're super excited to learn about the transfer process through your experiences. We can go ahead and get started with introductions. Panelists, please share your name, your pronouns, your major, and what year you graduated from Foothill. Donald, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. Well, my name is Donald Wilson. You can also call me DJ. Most people call me that. I graduated from Foothill in 2021. I now attend UC Merced as a psychology major, and I'm going to graduate in the spring of 2023. I chose UC Merced because they offer great financial aid. It was really important for me to have a school where I would go to and have no debt. And I chose Foothill because they have great online classes. I took every single class that I took was online. So distance learning was good for me.
Great, thank you so much. Venetia?
Hi, everyone. My name is Venetia. I am an electrical engineering major at UCLA. I graduated Foothill this year, so 2022, and I will be graduating UCLA in 2024.
All right, thank you so much. Josh?
Yeah, so my name is Josh. I graduated in spring 2022. I'm a double major here at UCI, so I'm in English and also a creative writing major.
Nicholas?
Hi, my name is Nicholas. Sorry for the bad lighting. Yeah, I graduated from UC Davis in March 2022. I transferred there in 2017. I survived the whole pandemic and the experience of school going online, plus the crazy fires that we had and the bear on campus. And yeah, I was there for 4 years. I studied communications and computer science. I minored in a STEM. It took about a year and a half extra to do it. And I'm definitely here to answer questions in both the humanities and the STEMs.
Great, thank you so much. Murphy, do you want to go on next?
Yeah, hi, my name is Murphy. I transferred from Foothill to UCSD last year, and I'm majoring in cognitive science with a specialization in human-computer interaction. I also minor in computer science. Nice meeting you guys.
Great. Anderson?
Hi everyone, my name is Anderson. I use he, his, him pronouns, and I transferred to UC Berkeley this 2022 fall, and I'm majoring in electrical engineering and computer science.
Great, thank you so much. And Amit.
Hey, my name is Amin, pronouns he, him. I'm a film and digital media major at UC Santa Cruz. I'm expected to graduate in 2024, but we'll see how class availability feels about that. And then I graduated from Foothill this year, well, like 2022. It's like last spring.
Okay, great. We're super thankful to have you guys join us today. We're going to go ahead and move on to our structured Q&A. So the first question, just to provide some context to your transfer experience, why did you guys choose Foothill? Was there anything about Foothill that stood out in comparison to other community colleges? So Donald, did you want to perhaps start us off in answering this question?
Yeah, sure. I chose Foothill. I actually lived 2 hours away from the campus. So I lived in Richmond, California. I chose Foothill because all the classes that I needed, I could take online. I took advantage of the distance learning. So it was really good for me and my work schedule at the time.
Great, thank you so much. Vinicia?
Yeah, so Foothill was fairly close to where I previously lived, and I did a little bit of research on the surrounding community colleges, and Foothill's transfer rates, especially for STEM majors, was really high. So I think it was a good choice for me.
Great, thank you so much. Josh?
So I chose Foothill straight out of high school. Out of high school, I was in the AVID program, and from there, I got a lot of when I applied my senior year of high school, I got into Chapman. I got a full ride scholarship to a school in the East Coast. But I chose Foothill just because I felt that for me, I didn't want to go far away from home, and I didn't have the money to even go to Chapman or go to the school up in the East Coast. Even though they did offer me a full ride, I just felt that I wouldn't personally be able to do that. So I chose to go to Foothill just to really build up myself again coming out of high school, because I felt in high school I didn't do a lot, and I felt like going to community college would be Foothill would be a great option. Plus Foothill is only a 10-minute drive from where I live, plus 2 years free of tuition. So I said I'm gonna go to Foothill, and yeah.
Right, Josh mentions the Promise program, which is something new college students should definitely take advantage of. It's 2 years free of community college, but that doesn't cover textbooks. All right, so Nicholas, did you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. So the truth is that I chose UC Davis because it was close to family. And I grew up in Palo Alto. Most of my family lived in the San Francisco Bay Area. And, like a lot of transfer students, my grandfather, my grandparents were living in an old folks home, and I wanted to be able to go and visit them. And so, due to family circumstances, I chose UC Davis because of the proximity it had to my family. I also chose it because it's a very recognizable and respected school. But its main choice was, like many, students from the Bay Area, I wanted a school that was going to be close and also, very recognizable.
Great, thank you so much. Murphy, did you want to share why you chose Foothill next?
Yeah, so actually before I'm international, from China, and before I came to US, I did a campus tour to see different community colleges in Bay Area. And since at that time my goal was Berkeley, so I was looking for community colleges that's close to Berkeley. So I was choosing between DNSA and Foothill. And I personally prefer Foothill better because the class size is slightly smaller, I guess, and there's less people, and also the environment is pretty nice. And also the transfer rate is pretty good too. So overall, I just chose Foothill.
Great, thank you so much. Anderson?
I think I'm pretty much similar with Murphy. I'm an international student, and I only knew Foothill and Dianza, both of these community college. So, and I did a campus tour before I came to Foothill, and I think Foothill is a really nice campus in general, and the people are nice. Everything was nice, so I just chose Foothill.
Great, thank you so much. And Amit?
Yeah, so right out of high school, I didn't really have the best grades. I couldn't really apply anywhere else. And Foothill was always talked about as like the school that you go to if you can't go anywhere else. And my dad had went to community college and he had like done a lot of destigmatization towards community college for me because he ended up transferring to a pretty good school after that. And he said it was really good. So he encouraged me that it wasn't as bad as all my peers were saying. And it wasn't. It was really good for me. And it was like really close. I grew up in Mountain View. So I ended up just deciding that Foothill would be best, and they had a pretty supportive like community in general. As a community college, it's pretty well resourced. So I decided to go with that. It's really close. And yeah, it was a very great decision just being able to transfer after 2 years of community college. And it was really cheap. It was great decision.
All right, thank you so much, you guys, for sharing why you guys chose Foothill. So we're going to move on to the next question. And the next question is, how did you guys ultimately decide on a specific school to commit to? Were there any factors that you think are important to look into when you're deciding on a 4-year to transfer to? And what stood out about the current UC you're at right now? Donald, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, I mostly chose UC Merced because I wanted to go to a smaller school. I'm actually like mostly like an introvert, so going to like a bigger school kind of like gave me a hype. So when I visited UC Merced, when I saw the campus, it was beautiful and it was like just the right size. And also it was like a financial decision. They gave me enough financial aid, grants, and scholarships, so I don't have any debt. So that was mostly my decision for that.
Right. I think it's important to look into your financial aspect when you're deciding on a 4-year. And I think it's really great that you brought that up, Donald. So Vanessa, did you want to share why you chose UCLA?
Yeah, I think I kind of chose it around my major, and electrical engineering at UCLA has a really good program. So that was a smoother transition. And then also just the surrounding area, Westwood, which is the nearby downtown around UCLA, is like a happening city and it's the main city. So I think like location and just my degree and things like that were the main factors that went into it.
Great. Thank you so much. Josh?
Yeah, so as far as like why, or what was the question again? It was like why we chose a specific UC, or
Yeah, like why you chose UC Irvine and what
okay,
factors led to that decision.
okay. So for me, I got into mostly every UC that I applied to. For me, why I chose Irvine was because my friend had really hyped up this school, like literally almost a year and a half ago, and he came in here as a first year, so I took his opinion as word, and you know, that's just kind of how it went. So when I was doing my application process, like I said, I got into every UC, which is UCLA, Berkeley, Irvine, obviously, Riverside, and Santa Barbara. But Irvine just stuck out for me just because of the location, but also the programs that it has. For me, as an English major, all the other schools don't really offer specific programs that entail to me. Even though Berkeley and UCLA are like highly regarded, they're just not a good school for my program. And Irvine really had this specialization for me, and it came down to that in terms of the program for my major. Financially, all the other schools gave me better packages, and Irvine didn't. So that was kind of the thing that sucks. One of the downer about me is that I had to live off campus just because Irvine wasn't able to provide me a housing thing. So I can go into that later on if you guys have questions. But for me, that's kind of the situation I'm in Irvine. And Irvine really just feels like home. It reminds me a lot of Mountain View and a little bit of Santa Clara. So it really feels like like a copy of where I'm from, and it just makes me feel comfortable. Plus, Irvine's like really hilly. Like if you like the outdoors, unlike Santa or compared to Santa Cruz, in a way, yeah, it's really fun over here. So that's kind of why I chose Irvine.
That's great. I remember someone from our UCLA panel talking about how the difference between SoCal and NorCal is just so great. And it was hard for them to kind of adjust to a different environment in Southern California. But it's really great that you mentioned that UC Irvine's environment is very similar to the one we have up here. So Murphy, did you want to share why you chose UC San Diego?
Yeah, I think I kind of chose San Diego because of the same reason as Josh. Like I also got into like other UCs, but I was like mainly hesitating between Berkeley and UCSD because like both of them have cognitive science program, but I was like mainly wanted to get into tech industry and do UX designer. So Berkeley, I compared their courses, like the major courses at Berkeley are pretty theoretic, theoretic and like that's not really preparing you for finding a job, and it's like 100% you need to go to a grad school. But I mean, I want to go to grad school eventually, but I would prefer to work first. So um but like the courses at UCSD are more like career oriented, and they have more courses like workshop. You can actually build your portfolio, and they just have a pretty comprehensive UX like interaction design department. So that's why I chose UCSD. And eventually I found that when I'm finding right now I'm a senior and I'm trying to find a job right now, I do feel like the skills I learned in UCSD helped me a lot compared to like if I only have the theoretical knowledge I learned in if I go to Berkeley. But um I still feel like um when you're considering which school you're going to, it's not only important for you to consider the courses they have, because like eventually what you're gonna become is still like what work you've done yourself outside of the class. So not only considering the courses, you can also like consider about like other factors as well. Yeah.
Great, thank you so much. Nicholas, do you want to share why you chose UC Davis?
Yeah, so I think I accidentally answered this question when you asked about Foothill, but basically, so there's some things I would like to share about Davis. So there's pluses and minuses, right? So one of the, I obviously chose it because of proximity. It is a very recognizable school, but there are things about it people should be aware of. It is kind of isolated. If you're from the SF Bay area, like I think most of us are, it's going to be very different. It is an isolated community. And so some people might have trouble with that. The plus side is you're never that far from San Francisco. There is a bus that goes to Berkeley. Downsides, particularly for computer science, as somebody who's a computer science minor, but I took about 40 units of CS classes, I do have to say that the CS department is mostly theoretical. And I do wish they had a software engineering major like Cal Poly or some other UCs have. It's very theoretical, which is a plus in that, you have good theoretical knowledge. But the downside of my computer science education was that, a lot of it isn't applicable to the job market. I did take web development. They have like a class that's essentially a boot camp. That was cool. Some of the great things about the campus are it's beautiful. We have a great arboretum. God, but there's a lot of downsides. I have to be honest. I think that if I didn't have the kind of family entanglements I had, I think I would have chosen maybe UCLA or UC Santa Barbara. Like it is an isolated campus.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so I think to reiterate what a lot of our panelists are saying, it's important to do research about, your specific major or, the location of the campus of your desired UC before making a decision. All right, so Anderson, did you want to share why you chose UC Berkeley?
Sure. I think my main reason that I chose that there are two main reasons that I chose Berkeley over other UCs is that Berkeley EECS program, EECS is top 3 in the world. I mean, everyone knows about that. The EECS program is very recognizable and well known. So that's one of the reasons I chose Berkeley. Second reason is that because before I get to Berkeley, I actually already built some community there. I already know some people there, and I have my church there as well. So I think the main reason, I think is I go to Berkeley because of the church. And although I visited all other UCs, And I felt like UCLA actually is a pretty nice school. I kind of regret that I didn't go to UCLA, but I think UC Berkeley is a great school as well in terms of friendship, all the kind of opportunity that I get in here in Silicon Valley. So I think UC Berkeley is one of the great school.
Thank you so much. And Amin, did you want to share with us why you chose UC Santa Cruz?
Yep. Sorry, I moved inside. Santa Cruz for me, it was mostly about the environment. I grew up in Mountain View, so like I knew it was really close. So I could commute, but the benefit for me was that there was a really good transfer program, like a dedicated department just for like working with transfer students, and they're really good. I have a mentor specifically through that transfer program, and it's like an open center, and like the whole building that I live in for the dorms is all transfer housing. So like, which is great. The housing market in Santa Cruz is awful. So like it was just like there's a lot of signs pointing me towards like it's like very supportive, and like it'll let you do kind of your own thing and do what you want. Like with my degree, I didn't really care where I went, because film you could kind of do anywhere if you think about it. And like, oh god, the campus is awesome. It's like entirely surrounded by nature. Like I will wake up to the sounds of turkeys gobbling outside my patio. It's great. It's a great sign. There's deer everywhere, hella trees. It's great. Yeah, that's about it.
All right, thank you so much, guys. So we're going to move on to the next question. And this more so has to do with the transition from community college to a four-year. So what was the academic transition like for you guys? And this can be like workload, difficulty of classes. And did you feel like Foothill prepared you for the academic rigor of a four-year? So Donald, did you maybe want to start us off?
Yeah, I actually felt like I had a pretty smooth transition after coming from Foothill. I actually like still like look back on my notes from English 1A and stats, psych, method, research and design. So like those have followed me up until UC Merced. Like there's definitely more work, but I definitely feel like the rigorous program at Foothill prepared me.
Great. Benicia?
Yeah, I would say it has a lot to do with your major. I think for EE, it's pretty rigorous. It's a huge jump. I see Anderson laughing in the back. I'm sure he feels the same way. But I would say Foothill does a good job with the fundamentals, and taking that really seriously is probably the most important thing that you can do. I will say that UCLA has a great like supportive transfer engineering center. And so that along with the students and the TAs and the professors do help you. And I will say as well that Foothill being a quarter system helps with schools that are also in a quarter system. So you're kind of already used to that like 10, 11, 12 week like pace, where midterms are like week 3. But I will say it depends on your major, and for E, it's a pretty big jump, but yeah.
Thank you so much. Josh.
Yeah, in terms of academics, like same thing that Venetia said, like it's a quarter to quarter school, so your transition should be like that quick. You shouldn't have any difficulty with that compared to other students that I've met that came from semester community colleges. They're out here struggling while I'm out here just taking it really easy. But on top of that, like Venetia said, it is based on your major. As an English major, I'm kind of just doing a lot of readings more than actual writing right now. Just because UCI is really renowned for its philosophical theories, because we have a bunch of like philosophers that have worked here. So we're kind of mostly grounded on just reading and really like comprehension in that sense. Academically, I'm not struggling just because my major is really centered on just that. The only thing that is difficult is living off campus. And I know when Venetia came over and like other friends came over, it's been a struggle. But academically wise, it's been an easy transition. So that's all I can say.
All right, thank you. Nicholas, do you want to share with us what your academic transition has been like?
Absolutely. So that's, so just FYI, I just want to say Foothill is a great community college. And I actually grew up down the street from it. I grew up in Los Altos. But so here's what I will say. I went to 5 different community colleges. I thought Cabrillo was pretty good. But what I will say is Foothill probably was the most rigorous in terms of like the writing, in terms of the the structure. It was probably the most rigorous of the community colleges I attended. And yeah, my English 1A teacher prepared me in ways that I just don't think a lot of people prepare students for a UC system. I mean, he taught me like an algorithm to write papers that allowed me to survive UC Davis, where I've seen so many students just like break down, the algorithm of how to write a paper and how to not get lost and just stuck in procrastination, and actually how to make a roadmap to finish projects. The stuff, those fundamentals that I learned at Foothill have just been amazing. And if you can do well at Foothill, in my opinion, you're not going to have a hard time at most schools. I think if you can do well there, I think there's a lot of bad community colleges, but Foothill's not one of them. They're, known as the Stanford on the Hill. Like if you go there, if you do well, if you can withstand that rigor, you're going to be able to transfer to most to most UCs, and you're going to be able to do really, really well. I took actually the last class I took at Foothill was when I was preparing to study computer science. Obviously, it wasn't my major, so UC Davis, like a lot of schools was very hesitant to let me study computer science. My major was communications. They're like, really, you want to study computer science? They kind of laughed at me, and they're like, well, you got to prove yourself first. So I actually had to go back to community college, take some of the prereqs, and then transfer back to UC Davis. And so the last class I took was programming in Python 1A or something with God, I can't remember his name, Eric something. But that class was actually harder than any computer science class I ever took at Davis. And so, I mean, the level of intelligence, a lot of Foothill students are walking around with, in my opinion, just prepares you to just go to a UC and just blow everybody out of the water. So if you can do well at Foothill, I don't think you're going to have trouble at UC Davis at all.
Thank you so much. Murphy, do you want to share what it has been like for you?
Yeah, so like at the beginning when I went to Foothill, I was a psychology major, and then in my third year, I changed to more like UX design and learn more coding. So from my experience, I remember that once I took a humanity class in Foothill, and it was taught by a professor who was retired from Stanford. And I still remember like that professor was super strict with essay, and she's like commenting on each of the sentence you wrote. She's like, how does this sentence link to the next sentence to that? So she was like pretty strict with everything. And another good thing is that our class size is like around 20%, so 20 people. So like she actually got the time to read all of our essay carefully and give us very thoughtful feedback. So that's something you can never get in a big university. And but I do feel like, so I think the art classes like humanity are even harder in Foothill because professor got more time compared to in university. But I personally do feel like some like computer science classes at Foothill is slightly easier than in UC San Diego, but mainly because like at San Diego or bigger university, you have more assignments, and like the professor don't got a lot of time to explain everything for you. You're more like learning on your own. But I feel like for math or computer science, the most important thing is that you need to build confidence in yourself, and Foothill did that pretty well. So at they help you to start off with some like simpler assignment, and then it helps you to transit pretty well after you transfer.
Thank you so much. Anderson?
I think I'm gonna just say the same thing as Manisha. It's basically just depends on your major. I honestly felt like I took CS under CS2C, the N1 C++, that actually didn't help me at all in Berkeley. The CS classes here are crazy. It's like so difficult, so hard, it's so different. Like it's basically I learned 3/4 of CS. It's actually just the 2 weeks in Berkeley, one class. So it's like totally different. And the transition from a quarter school to a semester school is not that easy as well. A lot of my transfer friends, they all experience something called imposter syndrome. And also they are quite tired of the semester system. Why is it so long? Why is it 16 weeks instead of like 12 weeks? So a lot of them just quite bored already in some way. But in other terms, it's like there's also good things about Foothill. Like Foothill also helped me a lot in like mathematics, Calculus 1C, Calculus 1B actually really helped me a lot for what I'm doing right now in EE. And Physics 4A, 4B is really helpful, especially Frank Cascarano teach really, really good physics knowledge foundation that I can use in my engineering classes. So yeah.
Great, thank you so much, Enemy.
Sorry, I dropped my phone. Yeah, no, Venetia brought up a good point of like it depends major to major, and also like everybody was saying like the quarter system to quarter system has been really great. Academically, I didn't feel like Foothill really challenged me regarding my degree, but a lot of the courses were very heavy on reading and writing, and that really hammered that in. And so Nicholas brought up like how his English 1A teacher kind of gave him like this tool set to write all the papers for the rest of his life. And I kind of feel like all my classes kind of did that. And like at least with my degree at Santa Cruz, the film degree is very deceptively not all that production based. It's a lot of reading and writing. I have more reading and writings than my psychology major friends here, which is kind of insane. So like all the actual film stuff you'll be doing is like outside of the program, which kind of sucks, but it's like it's fine. It gives you like way more creative freedom than if you were doing it through class, which I think is nice. And it's kind of why I ultimately ended up sticking with this, because like reading all the theory and going through all the academics isn't that bad once you just like figure out that B's and C's get degrees. But it's yeah, otherwise the transition was pretty smooth, especially to Santa Cruz with the transfer program. They kind of help out, and you know, everybody's really supportive of each other here. The people are incredibly nice and really friendly. So like everybody's like, it feels very communal. Like it felt like Foothill in the sense that like everybody's kind of there for each other. So yeah, there's at least here was a very, very good transition.
All right, thank you so much, everyone, once again. That was all extremely insightful. We're going to move on to the next question. And similarly to the academic transition question, but this one has to do more so with what it has been like socially. So the question is, what was the social transition like for you in regards to like making friends, joining clubs? I know some of you guys mentioned that some UCs had transfer support programs. So what has it been like socially? Donald, do you want to start us off?
Well, like UC Merced is like really small. So, and actually the campus, I would say it doesn't have the most activities like that other campuses have. So if that's like important to you, I wouldn't like recommend going here. It was important to me because it's like smaller and less hectic. So that was like perfect for me. The social scene, like I started off like a couple months, like I didn't have a job at first, but once I got a job on campus, then like that's when I started making friends and stuff like that. So I would recommend just like trying to get involved however you can. Well, at UC Merced, like you can do study abroad, you can do research. There's so much less competition. So all those programs are very open to you. So if you're interested in stuff like that, I would say come on over.
Benicia?
Yeah, I think UCLA has like a really big social life. As a transfer, the transfer community is pretty tight knit, and you kind of do a lot of things with the transfer community. I will say like a lot of my classes have so many transfer students. So through that, I was able to make a lot of friends, but it is also hard because you're coming in as a junior, and students kind of have been settled down within like university life, and so they've already made their friend groups and things like that. But I will say like just putting yourself out there is probably the biggest thing, and just joining as many things as you can to figure out what you want to do specifically helps. But yeah.
Great, thank you so much, Josh.
Yeah, so similar to Venetia, it's just Irvine's exactly like UCLA. We have like the transfer community is really tight knit. We always have events like every other week for transfer students. Like last week we had a painting event for transfer students, and a lot of students just came through for that. In terms of like the social like transition year, obviously like I had to start fresh, basically. Like I didn't have a lot of Foothill friends that came over to to Irvine. I kind of had my friends that went to Irvine like as first years from high school that I knew. So I just kind of been hanging out with them. But really because I've been putting myself more out there. Like I do a lot of like marketing and stuff for UC High now. So I'm really definitely making a name for myself up at Irvine now, just getting involved with my transfer center, actually getting involved with the student government. Like tomorrow, I'll be doing something for First Generation Day tomorrow. So that's pretty cool. So it's just really about putting yourself out there. I'm in a lot of different clubs. I'm in a lot of the athletic clubs here. Even though you do have to pay dues, that's kind of the one thing that does suck here. I think all the UCs you have to pay like club dues if they do require it, which kind of sucks. But yeah, I'm in a lot of the athletic ones. We'll be traveling soon to UCSD for like competitions. So that's going to be really cool. But also just clubs that are related to my major. So that's really where I've been able to make friends and just relate to other people.
Thank you. Nicholas?
Hi. So so I actually attended another UC before I came to UC Davis. And what I have to say is, so what's the transition like? Well, it's not really, if I'm to be honest, having, also visited UC Santa Barbara because I'm interested in going to grad school. I do have to confess that UC Davis is not a very social campus. And I'm being honest. I'm just being brutally honest. It's not a very social campus. The workload is quite heavy. So, most students, I mean, I think they call UC Davis the sleepy campus because you see students just passed out all over campus. It's, there are a lot of great things about UC Davis. So, for instance, even though I graduated, I've been going back to the campus because I'm living in the Sacramento area, and I've been using the Startup Center. There are some amazing resources and amazing clubs if you can make time for it. They have great martial arts. One things that kept me sane was we have a really good Wing Chun and boxing club. We have good boxing, good Wing Chun, an Olympic level judo team, and an Olympic level Taekwondo team. So martial arts kept me kind of sane and grounded throughout my 4 years at UC Davis. That's really awesome. But it is literally everything just seems to close around like 7 p.m. in Davis. I mean, it's not like other UCs, like UC Santa Barbara is kind of like the town's literally like a 24-hour town, Isla Vista. Davis is not that. I'm going to be honest. Davis closes everything. This campus closes really early. The Coho, which is our like lounge center, closes really early. Like the campus just shuts down once the sun gets dark. And it's like, that can be kind of challenging. I'm just being brutally honest. I recommend that if you do come to Davis, that you find a club, meet people, be outgoing. A lot of students are introverts. I've noticed that a lot of people who attend Davis are introverts. So you might have to be more daring than you would otherwise. I haven't seen a huge divide between transfer students and students that came here directly from high school. I haven't seen a huge divide. I think it's they pretty much flow back and forth. But it is a very different campus. It's a very quiet campus. The dormitories don't really have parties. The school's not a party school. It's a if you're interested in diving into your academics, getting involved in research, particularly if you're doing some medical or engineering stuff, I think this is a great school. But it's not necessarily the most social school. If you're looking for a school that's super active socially, I think almost every other UC probably best us in that. And I'm just being honest. When I visited UC Santa Cruz, and I saw a huge like Mexican festival that was happening on campus. I've never seen anything remotely like that at UC Davis at any time. It's not a particularly political school either. There are a lot of Christian clubs. but it's just not, it's not the most social school, you know.
Okay, thank you so much. Murphy, what was it like for you?
Uh, I think the UCSD has another name called UC Socially Dead. I'm not sure if you've heard of that, but like I do feel like that's pretty accurate, like probably similar to Nicholas. I feel like if you go to library, everyone is either learning computer science or biology, and like it's like, for example, like very recent, like on Halloween, it's like nobody wear a costume. It's like probably in the whole day I only see 5 people wearing costume, and whoever wear a costume feel like they're embarrassing themselves because nobody else is doing that. And like I was like expecting some dancing and some party and like music, but like it's super quiet at like 8. Like nobody's on the campus, just quiet. And I don't know why, but like I guess everyone is super focused on their career, finding an internship, and just like whenever you met someone and you want to start a conversation and the other person is like, hey, how's our internship going? Or like, did you find an internship? Or just something like that. And people just somehow like to pretend to not seeing each other, even though they know each other, like on the campus. But I guess like as what Nicola said, it's a pretty good place to, if you want to like study quietly and focus on research, study and finding an internship, like it's a pretty good place for you. But if you're looking for more socialization, probably go to UCLA, I guess. Yeah.
All right, thank you. How are you, Anderson?
I think a good thing about Berkeley is that we all come from a lot of transfer students from a lot of other places, other community college, and transfer students are very close together. And from Foothill, I don't actually know a lot people. I'm not very close with a lot of people that actually transferred from Foothill to Berkeley, but only like a few of them, but mostly from De Anza students. So it was pretty good, and because I already have a church here, and I got the chance to meet a lot of the church people here, church students, my peers, and other people on campus. I think one thing is that because we, other than just lecture, we actually have like discussion and lab session. That's actually helped me to actually meet a lot of other people, and then we come together for lab and then meet, and then just going out for lunch together, dinner together. But yeah, I think someone say that about joining clubs. I think joining clubs is really important. But in Berkeley, if you join, in order to join clubs, you have to go through so many application and stuff. You have to go to info session. You have to get interviewed in order to get into the club, and you have to pay the membership dues. So it's actually way harder than what we have in Foothill College. But overall, I think Berkeley has a pretty good social life. Like there are a lot of fat parties. Every Friday, every Saturday night, you can hear people are screaming, shouting here and there. Fat parties are having fun a lot. So I think it's pretty good so far.
All right, thank you, and Amin.
Yeah, the social life here is really good. If you're extroverted, you're gonna love this school. If you're introverted, you're also probably gonna love the school. Everybody, I don't know what's in the water at Santa Cruz, or if like it's just that everybody's surrounded by nature, so everyone's always happy. But like everybody is so nice and genuine and like welcoming and supportive. Like just on the first day, I left my door open and I made like 15 friends just walking into my door. I just played music, served them some coffee, and it was great. It was a good time. And like all those people I still talk to, and like you'll see them at the dining hall and you'll always be like saying hi in passing, and everybody's always smiling. It's like it's just nice. You don't need to join any clubs here to make friends. I'm not in any clubs. Um, you can make friends through classes pretty easily. Everybody's very talkative and like willing to connect and just hang out. It's not much of a party school. It's more of like a kickback school. So you're not going to have like the Greek life here is pretty much dead. And nobody really likes the Greek life here. So it's a lot more laid back of a social environment, but like you'll still like hang out with a bunch of people all the time, and everybody's very outgoing, like very welcoming, and again just supportive. It's a good environment to be in general, because you're always going to have people to go to. And I have some like some of the best friends that I've ever made have just been like in the first like 3 weeks that I've met here. My roommates are some of my best friends. The people living above me are also some of my best friends. My neighbors, everybody's really chill here. the social environment. So if you like that, definitely go to Santa Cruz. If you like nature, go to Santa Cruz. There's always stuff to do here. You can go downtown. It's like a 20-minute bus ride. You can go to the beach, which is also like equally close. There's always like something to do here. You can go on a hike. You can go on walks. Yeah, no, the social life here is like really good.
All right, thank you so much. So we're running a little bit on time, so I kind of want to get through this last question. So the last question is, what do you think made you a strong applicant? So this is in regards to the UC application. Was there anything you did at Foothill that you think made you stand out during the application process? And kind of along with that, what's your biggest piece of advice for succeeding in the UC application process? So maybe it can be something like a strong GPA or maybe specific extracurriculars. But if you're willing to share stats, you can feel free to do so as well. Donald?
I mean, if I had to give advice on the UC application, would be for your questions, make sure you have somebody read them over. I had like 3 people read over my questions, and actually like I was still catching mistakes in the answers up until I submitted it. So it's like really important for someone else to read it, because sometimes you just kind of gloss over the mistakes, even if you read it over yourself. At Foothill, I mean, I think it was just that Foothill kind of like prepared me for UC work. I don't I didn't like really get a chance really to take advantage of like the services that Foothill offered for like transfers and stuff like that. I kind of did all the applications on my own, but I mean the classes and everything prepared me for like where I am now. So
Great, thank you so much. Venetia?
Yeah, I would say definitely start on your applications with like a good amount of time ahead, like for starters. But then also, I think one thing I think that helped me was just being as well-rounded as I could be. Of course, like doing the basics, like taking the correct courses in order to transfer is important. But I think like also doing extracurriculars, things that are like entirely not related to your major, but also things that are, and just kind of growing on like your hobbies and your current interests are really important, especially with things that you're passionate about. And anything that you're not interested in or not passionate about will be clear in your application that isn't too important to you. But yeah.
Thank you. Josh?
I think one of the things that made me a strong applicant was the sense that for me, I'm a first generation student. On top of that, I was very involved at Foothill. I was in student government. I was well established with some of the board members at the board of trustees. So I was really well known by a lot of people just because of how involved I was for pretty much all 3 years that I was at Foothill. So I really built like a reputation for myself, and mostly that just came from my background. So I came from like low income. Um, Literally, like I went through the struggle. So really, that's just what made me a well-rounded applicant, and that's why I really got involved with a lot of things at school. And on top of that, it was just hard in the sense of also being an athlete and then really being a competitive student. So I just really had to take it all in and really just focus on that a lot in a lot of my essays.
Nicholas?
I would say that I definitely got good grades. I can't really pick. I'm sorry, I can't really pick anything I did that necessarily helped me stand out. I felt like, okay, so I guess I can answer this question a little differently. So, like I was saying, that I stayed another 2 years to study computer science. That was a really important thing for me. Foothill helped me prove to the advisors at UC Davis that I could do that. So one of the things that I glossed over before that I just wanted to add is Foothill is one of the few campuses that the CS classes, CS prereqs actually transfer directly into the UC Davis system. I don't know of any other community college in California except Foothill and De Anza that actually where you can actually transfer for 36A, 36B, and 36C.
and discrete math directly from, that school without having to file any petitions or anything. So, I mean, that helped me prove to my advisors that I should stay another, 2 years to study computer science. So that it's not quite answering your question, but that's something I really just wanted to add.
Thank you so much. Murphy?
I feel like for Foothill, wait, what's the question again?
No worries. It's just what do you think made you stand out as a
Yeah,
strong
okay.
applicant?
I just feel like for when I was in Foothill, I was like doing psychology, and something I did is like my psychology professor told me there was an opportunity of like a research opportunity collaborating with Stanford University. You can be research assistant over there. So I think that research experience helped me a lot to put on my resume, like, I mean, application. So I think something you could do is to like keep close contact and relationship with their professor, and especially within the major you want to transfer to, and like reach out to them to ask for any opportunity or resources if you have, if they have. And also for probably like science major, like computer science or math, just probably focus more on doing some side project on your own, so that you can like show them you have the ability to kind of finish something on your own, and also just like overall prove your skills like that.
Thank you. Anderson?
Yeah, I think I agree with what Murphy says, is that when you should maybe do some side project whenever you have time. If you're a CS major or an EE major, you can probably just do some robotics by your own, create some fun games by your own, and then just list them out in your application. I think it is really good. For me, I feel like GPA is not everything, because everyone might have the same GPA as you, maybe get a 4.0 GPA, but what makes you stand out is your essays and your EC. So maybe you can do something that is really what you are interested in. In Foothill College, maybe just join some clubs, be the board member of the clubs, and then hold some events, get some connections. I feel like connection is more important in these days, and it's not that I mean, connection is really important, and it's not about grades. More about like networking. And if you get a chance to meet like some Google's engineers, they can probably just refer you to Google and stuff. So it's really important to actually connect with one another and not just focusing academics. Yeah.
Thank you. Amin?
Yeah, so I don't know how I got into Santa Cruz. I think it's just the acceptance rate was great for the GPA, because I didn't really write much on my essay aside from like I'm really passionate about this degree, and I think that's like that's something that you do have to lean into when you're writing your papers. Is that like you do want to show that you care about what you're going for, and I definitely did. I've been doing my degree since like middle school, pretty much. And something that I was definitely really interested in. I don't think your GPA matters all that much. You just got to show that you care, and the UCSC at least does a very good job of like recognizing that, I think, because everybody here is really passionate about what they're doing. Very clearly, they have a lot of energy for their work. Yeah, Josh raises a great point. Stories do matter. So focus on your English classes at Foothill, and definitely learn how to write a good story, because that's definitely going to help. That's ultimately what I did. I didn't write too much about my background on ASFC or like what I did extracurricular wise, just because I was really new into ASFC. I didn't really have many other extracurriculars, but I like briefly mentioned it. So just if you don't have extracurriculars to like rely on in your essay, just talk about like why you really care about your degree, what you want to do with it. I think the big thing that I used that I said that really helped for me was saying like, I already have a lot of knowledge with my degree, but I want to learn more, and I want to share that with other people too. And that's something that's like that UCs are looking for, like how you can be impactful, like what makes you a good student, and why they should invest in you, basically. And if you say that like you're just gonna be you're looking to like learn for yourself and like to contribute to society, that's a good one. That always works. But yeah, just lean into that. Otherwise, you could focus on your academics. That's not the most important. it helps, but yeah, not the most important. Josh said it pretty clearly. Stories are the biggest one with your essays. You want to be very transparent and like very honest about what you care about, and why it means so much to you. And yeah.
All right, thank you so much. So unfortunately, we're running a little bit low on time, so we won't be able to get to the open Q&A. But panelists, if you are able to leave some sort of like email or contact information in the chat where participants can probably go to ask you questions, please do so. As I mentioned, here is the QR code to either join the Honors Connection Discord or sign up for ISC. Thank you so much, you guys, for joining us today, and we hope that you got something out of today's transfer panel. And thank you once again to the panelists. Everything was super insightful, and you've definitely helped many people with their transfer experience. So thank you so much.